In the other side, the Lakers, of course, winning, and now they will face the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm particularly intrigued, I'll be honest, by this series against the Grizzlies. I think there's a lot of interesting basketball storylines. Dylan Brooks had a soundbite yesterday talking about how he wanted the Lakers, and part of the reason, and he acknowledged this, is, you're going against LeBron, and it's a test. It's a test, and he felt like...
Shocker, Dylan Brooks had a soundbite.
Yeah, well, you know what? I like the consistency of the brand here. Yeah. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, I will also say these guys want to be in the big show. They want to be in this moment. They've wanted to be in this moment since they've made this jump, and now they're here. It's like when you play LeBron and the Lakers, you're in it. Everyone's going to be paying attention. What were your initial thoughts? Crazy game last night. What were your initial thoughts watching it? And then especially the last, minute of the fourth quarter and then going into OT.
Not surprised the Timberwolves played well. They shot the shit out of the ball for much of the game and then really faltered down the stretch. Didn't get really great looks. I think they created 3 open looks in the fourth quarter and overtime from 3-point range. Mike Conley was great, of course. I said this on First Take today. My eyebrow raised moment was not that Anthony Davis fouled Mike Conley on that 3-pointer that sent the game into overtime. My eyebrow raised moment was what preceded that foul. And the Wolves, needing a 3, ran a simple flare screen for Mike Conley. And the 2 defenders involved for the Lakers were LeBron and AD, and they completely botched the switch. And I brought this up today, and I think it's important to note this moment because I go back to, first of all, Matt Ryan hit a 3 to beat the Pelicans earlier in the season when he was on the Lakers on a very similar play. There was a little bit of a fake misdirection wheel action prior to the flare screen, but same spot on the floor, same action. So it's not like the Lakers haven't seen that before. But I go back to last year's game 1, Memphis Grizzlies and the Golden State Warriors. What turned out to be a very competitive series. Grizzlies up 2 with about 30 seconds to go, and they botch a switch. Klay Thompson gets an open 3, and then Ja Morant misses the layup. So that's a pivotal moment in a game. I go back to 2020. Lakers this time on the other end of it. Anthony Davis hits a 3-pointer down 1 against the Nuggets at the buzzer in the Western Conference Finals. Mason Plumlee had just gotten substituted into the game. Him and Will Barton botch a switch. Like, you can't have that happen at the end of a pivotal game like this.
In a playoff game.
Like, if someone draws up an insanely detailed play with misdirection and it just perfect timing, like the wheel action or the victory play that Brad Stevens used that Klay Thompson, the Warriors, had earlier this year when Klay hit a 3, where they throw it across court. Klay gets a screen up top and then gets a rescreen going back towards the ball. Like, to me, if you get beat on that play, okay, all right. But this is what's important in the playoff times. I broke down last year the Toronto Raptors botching a switch, point switching like this, and Joel Embiid hits a game winner. So that, to me, was the eyebrow raised moment, not that he fouled him.
Well, they had a few of these mental mistakes down the stretch. They had 2 different inbounds. They didn't really get burned on either of them. Obviously, Prince missed the 3 at the end of OT, but those are just giveaways. I mean, there's nothing else to it besides that. And it's kind of like, to your point, you can't really win in May if you're doing that. Maybe you get 1 a game or something like that, but you can't do it.
And it's puzzling because one of those turnovers on the inbounds play was LeBron.
Yeah.
And so LeBron and AD, 2 guys you don't think would mess up a simple switch. LeBron turning the ball over in inbounds. The other one was Austin Reeves. Like, I don't know. I want to preview this series a little bit, though. Lakers and Grizzlies. So Grizzlies are the favorites according to DraftKings Sportsbook. They're minus 125. Lakers at plus 105. There's a bunch of cool stuff that you can draft on this. Series length, over-under, series correct score, exact number of games, all this stuff. When I look at this matchup, let's first of all start with the fact that Memphis has home court. They have been, I think they were 35-6 at home this season. That's important to me. And that's not to say LeBron and the Lakers can't go win on the road, but Memphis is really good at home. One of the things to look for the Lakers specifically is their turnovers. because they had some turnovers last night. LeBron had some turnovers last night. They have to limit their turnovers. The Lakers have the 4th best defense post All-Star break in the entire NBA. Memphis has been a top 3 defense all season long. Memphis needs transition points. They need fast break points. That's how they win. And if you're turning the ball over against the Grizzlies, you're going to be in trouble.
Is some of this going to come down to D'Angelo's health?
Well, so I think D'Angelo's got to play well, and he's got to be healthy. He finished the season so strong for them over his last 13, 19 a game, shot 42% from 3. I'll give you a couple matchups, right? Of course, Dylan Brooks is going to guard LeBron. Like, there's a matchup for you, of course. The 2 matchups that I think are really intriguing to me are going to be Austin Reeves and Desmond Bane, 2 guys that both finished the season playing excellent basketball. Bane, I think, had a great season. I know he missed a ton of time with the toe injury. 22 a game since March 1st, 50% for the field, 40% from 3. Reeves at 18 a game since March 1st over his last 20 games played, 42% from 3. The production in the half court for those 2 players specifically, I think, is going to be really, really important because both these teams at times struggle to score in the half court. So those are 2 guys I'm looking for. And then the other one, of course, with Brandon Clark being out for the year, Steven Adams likely being out the rest of the season, even if Memphis makes a deep playoff run, is Jaren Jackson Jr. on Anthony Davis and how much they attack that matchup and try to get Jaren Jackson Jr. in foul trouble.
So Darvin Ham mentioned this after the game last night. Even though AD had a good game, sort of counting stats wise, it get 24 and 15.
Yep.
He said they should have gotten him involved more, and that was on him basically. Is that something you think game 1, basically just like almost like run everything offensively through him and see if you can try to kind of coax Jackson to a couple of dumb fouls early?
We've seen this a lot with the Lakers since AD joined, where LeBron makes it a point to get him the basketball early in the games, early in halves, early in quarters. LeBron picks and chooses his spots depending on whether or not AD's on the floor, depending on whether it's closing time. So I think it's going to be a huge emphasis this series to give the ball to Anthony Davis, who, by the way, I just want to say this because I know we talked earlier this week about my all-league teams, my all-NBA teams. Like, he met my threshold for games. I consider Anthony Davis a center, and so I didn't have him over Sabonis, but he had an all-NBA season in the games that he played. He was great this year. It's something where he's been sort of ridiculed a little bit over the last 2 seasons. The guy was awesome when he was on the basketball floor this year.
Well, obviously, then you talked about Jaren with Defensive Player of the Year. Both these guys, I mean, it's two all NBA caliber centers. The other thing I was going to ask about last night, the Lakers did a good job on Ant. Is there something about the way they defended him with Vanderbilt and AD in particular that do you think is sort of transitive to a player like Ja, or are they just very different offensively?
I think they're different players. I didn't know this till after the game. I guess Anthony Edwards is dealing with an elbow issue right now too. So I think probably some of on the shooting elbow. So I think some of that maybe is contributes to that bad shooting performance last night. But look, Ja is get in the paint, get in transition, go, attack, elevate, decide in the air type guy. So I do think specifically with Ja, I think it's probably likely that Vanderbilt starts on him. I could see that. Probably goes under screens at times. There probably will be some switching. On the other end of the floor, I'm curious to see how the Grizzlies defend LeBron and AD pick and rolls, whether they play Jaren Jackson Jr. in a drop or whether they switch and Brooks ends up on Anthony Davis. Jaren Jackson Jr. is just an absolute wrecking ball of a defensive player, by the way. I was reading Zach Lowe's stuff today on him, and it's just, in some ways I felt validated by my decision to vote him defensive player of the year.
It feels like the one, obviously there's a couple Mobley fans, but it feels like the one decision that everybody is like, yeah, this is this guy's award to lose. There's not much debate on.
One other thing I just want to mention on DraftKings Sportsbook, because I know both these teams are on my list of teams, or have been on my list of teams that I think can win the Western Conference, which is very different from the teams that or not different, but it's a smaller number of teams from the West that I think can win an NBA championship, because ultimately I think there's just a few teams that could potentially beat the Boston Celtics, the Milwaukee Bucks, and in my mind, I think it's the Phoenix Suns, healthy Golden State Warriors teams, and the Nuggets. Those are the three that I think could potentially beat the winner of the Eastern Conference, whether that's the Bucks, the Celtics, Sixers. One of those three teams is my favorites. But for these two teams, the Lakers have the fourth best odds in the Western Conference, and the Grizzlies have the fifth best odds to win the Western Conference.
I wonder if somebody who works for the Grizzlies will have this on a somewhere in the locker room at some point. It feels like a team that thrives off motivation, and I don't think any 2 seed wants to be an underdog in a first round series, but especially a team like this.
Yeah,
I'm just curious if this is the kind of thing that they may see, and maybe we'll be, depending on how next week goes, we'll be repeating at some point.
Look, man, they're professional athletes.
Got to do what you got to do.
We're always looking for motivation.
Yep.
We're always looking for motivation. It's NBA playoffs time. This week, everyone can score a no-sweat same-game parlay every day during the NBA playoffs. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app using code JJ, opt in, and place a same-game parlay on any NBA game. If it doesn't hit, you'll get a bonus bet back up to $10. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code JJ. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelplinema.org. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-4700 on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. See show notes for details.